Hello and welcome everyone to our Arts and Humanities session of the day. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin. This is a recorded 30-minute session. So you will be recorded. Well, we will be, you folks won't be, which is really nice. I do ask that you keep your cameras and your audio turned off during this panel session and presentation. The only reason why is because we do have a decent amount of material to we do have a decent amount of material that we do need to cover, and then from there we'll add and continue into our Q&A section if folks have Q&As. I think Q heard Q&A and said, I'm out of here. We do have folks working in the back as well, answering your questions throughout the session as well, so feel free to put those in as we're talking. Maybe, you know, Janine says something that sparks your interest, and we'll figure out who Janine is in quite a little bit. But yeah, do not hesitate. We'll be more than happy to answer any and all of those questions. So with that being said, this is your official Arts and Humanities session for the day. My name is Jonathan, and I'm an enrollment advisor here at Trent University, and I will be your moderator for today. And joined with me is Dr. Hugh Hodges, the program director in English literature. Hello, Hugh. We also have Janine Hurl-Eman, or should I say Dr. Janine Hurl-Eman, Program Director for History. Hello, Janine. Dr. Michael Hickson, Chair and Professor of the Philosophy Department. Hello, Michael. We also have Kelly McGuire, should I say Dr. Kelly McGuire, Professor for Gender and Women's Studies here at Trent. Hello, Kelly. And last but not least, we have Brooke Dackers. She is a student in the English Literature program, and this is your panel. Now, as we go through this presentation, you might hear a couple things that might not necessarily make sense. We might talk about some lingo, a couple of course term buzzwords. Again, feel free to throw all of those in. We'd love to ask. We'd love for you to kind of get those questions answered. So without further ado, I guess we'll dive right in. That's a lie. I need to say this. This is the most important part. We're drawing hoodies. Congratulations, you have all been entered into our hoodie draw in this presentation. So if you do get contacted in the next little bit, it's not spam, it's actually free merch. So without further ado, we will jump right into our panelist questions. Michael, you're the first in the hot seat. Welcome. Now, when we're talking about the arts and humanities, right, which programs at Trent are considered to be part of the arts and humanities? And what happens if, hypothetically, let's say I want to change my program after my first year?
Okay, yeah, thanks very much for having me. It's nice to see so many people interested in the humanities. The arts and humanities, just generally speaking, are those areas that allow you to explore history, literature, the arts, big ideas, big theories, communication, the law, and in short, everything to do with human beings taken in the broadest possible sense. So it is contrasted with usually, but it's also connected to the sciences and the social sciences. But we do things a little bit differently. So at Trent, we offer a number of particular programs in the arts and humanities. So ancient Greek and Roman studies, a general program in arts and science that's sort of choose your own adventure, Canadian studies, communications, cultural studies, English literature, French studies, gender and social justice, history, media studies, philosophy, and there's a joint program with Swansea in law and arts or law and business. And to answer the second part of the question, if you start in one of these programs and you decide you want to switch later on, it's very easy. If you want to get a degree at Trent, you have to satisfy some very general university requirements. For example, you have to take one half course, at least in Indigenous studies. And you have to take a number of courses leading in toward different degrees and different programs. So there's a kind of breadth requirement and a specific course requirement. And those are common to all of the different programs. So in your first year, you'll be satisfying those, checking some boxes, doing some exploring. If you think you want to go in one direction and then later on you want to change and go in another direction, nothing could be easier. And a lot of the programs that we offer are designed to allow you maximum flexibility so that you can explore and join programs together and just become a broad-minded person. So that's my answer to that question.
And a wonderful answer indeed. Thank you so much, Michael. Janine, hello.
Hello.
What is the benefits, because I feel like there's more than one, of studying in the arts and humanities at Trent?
Oh, thanks, Jonathan. I think I would really maybe categorize it as three main benefits of studying in the arts and humanities at Trent. I would see advantages including breadth, the dynamism, and the size. And I'll talk about each of these three in succession. So first of all, talking about breadth. This relates to what Professor Hickson was just saying, that there are opportunities for creativity and a broad applicability of the kinds of skills that you get with an arts and humanities degree. And so it doesn't just prepare you for one specific career like a professional program like nursing might do. Instead, I would argue it prepares you for every career. It gives you a skill set that is really broadly applicable. And so you get oral and communication skills in any of our humanities or arts courses that are really valuable in any path that you choose in life. The ability to express yourself, to read deeply, to synthesize ideas, to analyze and interpret complex concepts, and to develop arguments systematically. All of these things are honed with the arts and humanities degree. And I love seeing Brooke nodding as one of our students. And the other thing that I would say then, the next category that I raised was its dynamism. And it's kind of along the same lines, is that, again, along the lines of what Professor Hickson was saying as well, that you can develop and tailor your degree to your own interests, that there's a lot of options that, contrary to some other programs where your options actually get narrower as you continue on in your undergraduate degree, I think with arts and humanities, you can really explore a lot of different possibilities. And so you're not really closing any doors. And I'm sure a lot of you listening today, when you're 17 or 18, it can be really hard to know where your true interests lie. Like, you might have a lot of things that appeal to you, and you might be really nervous about, what am I supposed to do, And I would say that if you're in that boat, it's certainly the boat that I was in at your stage in life. And arts and humanities is a really good place to go in those kinds of circumstances. When you're not sure what you want to do, but you have a lot of interest, you can explore those interests with an arts and humanities degree. So that's its dynamism. And then finally, the size. That's a weird category, but what I mean by that is that in the arts and humanities in particular, I think one of our advantages and benefits is that we are relatively small and our classes are small. And Trent University in particular has a long tradition of fostering small group learning and privileging small group learning. And I think that is a real asset to you as a prospective student, that you will get opportunities for mentorship in the arts and humanities that it would be very challenging for you to get in another larger program. So you actually, as opposed to simply passively listening to lectures or reading and doing sort of standardized tests, which are just de rigueur in larger programs, it is possible to have a much more interactive learning experience, which is a much more powerful and beneficial learning experience. So those, I think, are the benefits to me of an arts and humanities degree.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janine. Kelly, hello. How long does it take to complete an arts and humanities degree? And are all degrees the same?
Thanks, John. Students typically take about 3 years to complete a general BA. And 4 years for an honors degree. Some will elect to take a little bit longer if they're circling back to pick up a specialization or a minor, or kind of, moving into a different degree like Michael was talking about a few minutes ago. But I think that the typical length is about 3 to 4 years in the humanities, at least. And I would say that's fairly standard across programs. And yeah, and again, in terms of the last part of your questions, are all degrees the same? they generally take about the same length of time to complete. But as Janine was just saying, they tend to be fairly distinct and have different components and different requirements as well. Because I was seeing a question in the chat a moment ago about requirements. These will vary from program to program. So, but that's generally just to be succinct, the length of time.
Absolutely. Follow-up question for you, actually, Kelly. If a student does enter, let's say, cultural studies under the general guise, and in that third year, they really start to connect with the material, they really see themselves, potentially going for that extra year, are they able to switch into that? Do they have to reapply?
I don't believe they have to reapply. Usually you can, I believe it was Mike who was talking about the flexibility and how we try to make it easy for students, as they're moving through our programs and kind of realizing what really interests them, what they want to do, and what kind of material connects with them. Usually it is fairly straightforward to kind of switch over without having to kind of go through that process of reapplying.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Speaking of Michael, hello, another question for yourself, sir. If students start off in one program, are all of their courses within that discipline? Do they only have to take, anthropology courses?
No, that's a good question. And I want to give you sort of two answers to that. First of all, you don't have to take all of your courses in one program, but more importantly, you shouldn't take all of your courses in one program. So I'll take the first part. So a four-year honors philosophy degree, for example, requires you to take 20 credits, which is 40 one-term courses, and only 9 of those credits, less than half, or 18 one-term courses, need to be in philosophy. So that leaves you half of an honors degree wide open to take whatever you want to take. So like I was saying earlier, the arts and humanities tend to be like that. We don't have the way sort of engineering does, a curriculum laid out that takes you from fall of first year to winter of fourth year and packs it full of things you need to get certified. You aren't ever a certified philosopher. Now that leads to the second part. You shouldn't take all of your courses in one program because take philosophy, for example. Philosophy is always the philosophy of something else, the philosophy of science, the philosophy of art, the philosophy of the social sciences, of history. And if you don't have any background in these other things, you're just sort of philosophizing about nothing. And I would say it's the same with sort of literature. I mean, the people who are writing great works of literature knew a lot about other things, and they're making references that you'll miss if you haven't taken courses that allow you to pick up those references and get to a deeper level of understanding of texts. So you don't have to, and you shouldn't take all of your courses in one program.
Not bad at all. Janine, hello, we meet again. We talk a lot about experiential learning. Parents talk a lot about it, teachers, guidance counselors. Hands-on experience is important. What are the experiential learning opportunities in the arts and humanities? Because most of the time, right, we're talking about getting your hands dirty in a lab or, X, Y, and Z, and it always involves the empirical method. What do the arts and humanities have? What can we offer to students?
Yes. Well, and I think it's really important to really underscore what we mean by experiential learning, right? It's such a phrase, as you say, Jonathan, that gets thrown around, especially by anxious parents and other mentors. And it's an important thing. Experiential learning really boils down to anything that you glean in your degree that has kind of real world applicability, that maybe emulates a real world work situation or a task that you might perform in the community, or real job experience. And experiential learning at Trent can take a variety of forms. So you could get experiential learning in the arts and humanities in the classroom or outside the classroom. And so arts and humanities students who are seeking experiential learning opportunities outside of the classroom could look to things like internships, field placements, community volunteering or community-based research projects. And all of this is fostered through Trent. And then there are also in-class opportunities as well. And so this might be an in-class research project, an assignment that simulates some sort of real-world activity, you know, some sort of activity that you might perform in a job that you might get as a humanities graduate or after you graduate. So in history, which I can speak to best, a couple of examples of that might be, we have a public history course where one of the assignments is to create a plaque text. A text for a plaque that would commemorate an event or a place. And the assignment requires you to follow the provincial guidelines of the Historic Sites and Monuments Board. There's other examples of history courses where one of your assignments is to make a presentation that kind of teaches to an unschooled audience, like the general public or a group of school children, that teaches a historical topic in a really engaging way. So these are the kinds of things that kind of job activities that you might do if you were to work in a museum or a National Historic Site or something like that. But Trent has a solid commitment to giving students the skills and experience to succeed when they graduate. So there are lots of other experiential learning opportunities. There's some very artistic ones involving digital and analog photography that you might get through certain courses. But another example that I just wanted to bring up before I shut up is on the Durham campus, the communications and critical thinking students did a project where they allied with the municipality of Clarington to help develop an electronic vehicle strategy for that municipality. So they performed research, they developed the questions, working closely with the municipality so that they're really getting a variety of, real world work experiences. But yeah, I think my colleagues can probably speak more to these activities in their own programs if people have specific questions afterwards, but I'll stop it there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can see Brooke with a massive grin on her face. Brooke is a student at the Durham campus. And I'm pretty sure if she hasn't worked on it, she definitely knows some folks that were part of that project. So again, see, there you go. Literally, what, 6? Scratch that. 2 degrees of separation. This is amazing. We're going to keep on moving. Hugh, I've not forgotten about you. Don't worry. How do lab classes or placement work? And I know that sounds a little bit confusing for some folks when you throw in lab in arts and humanities. So again, how would all of this work as an undergraduate student?
So hello, everybody. 2 different questions there. And I'm going to wind up picking up on a number of things that Janine has said about experiential learning. We don't usually call what we do lab work in the humanities. We tend to call it workshops. So we have a number of courses that run on a kind of workshop basis, very hands-on. So photography courses, music making courses, drawing courses. But what I'm going to talk about here, I think, is the individual study stuff. Janine mentioned that the whole philosophy in the humanities is to open more and more doors as you go along, rather than close more and more doors and funnel people down a corridor. And one of the ways we open as many doors as possible is to encourage individual studies. And they can take various forms. Reading courses, where a student goes to a faculty member with an idea for a study in some writer or some literary or historical topic that they're really interested in, and there just isn't a course on the books that really satisfies the need to scratch that itch. And I'll go to a professor and say, will you work with me on this? And 9 times out of 10, the professor says, yes, absolutely. Let's get this together, and we'll read together and get you to write something interesting on this subject. very similar to that in a way are practicum courses. I know we have them in the English department, we have them in cultural studies. I imagine gender and social justice and history have very similar kinds of courses where rather than just reading something and writing about it, you do something hands-on within the context of the university. So for example, in the English department, we've had students get a credit for directing the Anne Shirley musical that runs every year. The Anne Shirley Theatre Company is the musical theatre company run entirely by students at Trent. And we've had students get a credit for directing it and reflecting on what that process was like and writing about what it was like to direct a musical and what it entailed. Internships are another kind of placement, usually outside the university, but not invariably. And those can be really variable. Everything from working with theatre companies, arts organizations, art galleries, publishers, various media outlets. And again, what this has in common with the practicum and the reading course is it's student driven. This really hinges on a student going to a professor or to the chair of the department and saying, look, I've got this great idea for something I want to do that's intellectually challenging and it's going to be really rewarding for me. Can you help? And they generally say, oh, yes, absolutely. For example, Brooke and I are meeting next week to talk about an idea she has for an internship. And I'm looking forward to starting to work with her on that for the winter term. So again, the whole point of this is to open doors. The one kind of placement that I haven't talked about here are the community-based research projects. Can I kick this over to you, Kelly? Because I know gender and social justice does this much more than English and cultural studies does. I'm going to kick over to Kelly.
Okay, thanks you. Yes, so we actually have courses and other programs in the social sciences, like political studies has these as well, whereby you at the 3rd or 4th year level, you would be able to, for credit, go out into the community, work with a local organization or nonprofit, and basically kind of, so we've had students, for example, who've worked with Elizabeth Fry Society, and you're sort of embedded in these organizations, working with them. At the same time, you would have a faculty advisor, and who would be helping you develop a project based upon this whole experience. So in many ways, it's for people wanting to go into public relations or, kind of some kind of community advocacy, the community-based research projects open up. Again, if we're talking about opening doors, as Hugh was just saying, they open a lot of doors, and a lot of our students go on to do more work or later internships, kind of building on the projects that they do at the 3rd or 4th year level. And I was trying to think of other, OPIRG is another example. We're trying to actually expand those options as well for students, and to have a kind of a dedicated course where students can come in and not just work with a faculty advisor, but work with a larger group of students who are kind of doing different things, but coming together every now and then to share their experiences. And again, this is connected to what Janine was talking about in terms of experiential learning and so forth.
Hugh, Kelly, thank you. This is really good because now I have a follow-up question for you, Kelly. If students have questions about courses, right? How do they contact or access their professors? Is it encouraged? I know that, again, one of the biggest kind of mindsets in secondary school is, you know what, my teacher's busy. I don't really want to burden them. I'll figure this question out by myself. How do they get in contact with you? Can you kind of debunk that a little bit?
Sure, that is a common misconception. And I remember thinking that myself as an undergraduate student, that I couldn't possibly go and bother people, and I should just figure it out by myself. But we do tend to try to be, pretty accessible, right? We encourage students to talk to us in class, after class, to contact us by email. We have office hours in person or by Zoom at the moment, right? And we really appreciate it when students come in and talk to us and ask those questions, right? So we're not just kind of sitting all alone in our sad offices, we really do try to encourage students to, just do, if they're stuck. Okay. Yeah, we encourage students to come and see us. And again, I would just say that one of the advantages of Trent is that we have the smaller, classes, smaller group learning. So there are more opportunities for us to get to know our students and for students to kind of know us and be able to come to us, eventually when they're, going on to grad school or, professional programs or doing something else. We've developed a kind of relationship over the years. So that's certainly one advantage to Trent.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. Sorry for the little magic trick I did there. Apologies on that. For my next trick, I'm actually going to bring up Brooke. I haven't forgotten about you. Don't worry. Kind of a loaded question here. Again, you are an English literature student. What do you love most about studying in the arts and humanities?
That's a great question, John. And it's so hard because I have so many things I want to say, and all the professors touched on really important aspects of why I chose to study English literature. But it has to be one of the biggest takeaways from all my courses is the critical thinking skills I acquire and how I use it to translate what information I'm reading online and about the world that I'm living in. I'm someone who loves to learn about anything, general knowledge, and English literature really has helped me delve into digital humanities, going into social work and psychology and history even. And all these things I find really interesting, and also the literature that comes out of those historical times. And I love learning new things and how what I've learned translate to the world I'm living in now. So that has to be the biggest one for me.
I told you, look at this magic. That's amazing. And last question for you, Brooke, because I still have you here on the hot seat. Why did you choose Trent?
That's a great question too. When I was in high school, I really struggled with where I wanted to go. I had so many interests, and what really came down to it for me was the class sizes. I came from a very small high school. I was one of 50 graduates. And when I went to the Trent Durham campus for a tour, I was greeted by such a friendly atmosphere, and the classroom sizes were just perfect. Even this semester, I have an English course that's about 12 people, including the professor. And those small classroom sizes really fosters great engagement with all the students and the professor. And I just learned so much from my other peers in the class and from the professor when I can, share my own thoughts and my own ideas about what we're deconstructing. So definitely, and was the course selection actually, because I have such general interest in a lot of things. I wanted to see what courses were offered at Trent and if they aligned with my interests. And it was kind of perfect that way because the English program offers you so much selection, and it's really up to you and what interests you and what courses you can take. And there's a huge selection. And even my interests now have changed from courses I've taken, even just experimenting with a horror fiction course. I don't watch horror movies, but it's been so fun to deconstruct those texts and kind of take the scariness out of it, sort of. So yeah, definitely the course selection and the class sizes.
Not bad at all. I feel like I've been lying to the people because I didn't tell them what degree I took. I'm a cultural studies and psychology double major. I also did a specialization in image, sound, and media. This is exactly what I want to hear. The fact that this is still going on and increased by tenfold, especially by Brooke's testimonies, is just, again, a testament to kind of Trent's dedication to the humanities, to kind of bringing that to the forefront. So just warms my little heart. This is amazing. I do have one question in the chat that's been kind of popping up a decent amount. And I think if that's okay, Michael, I'll address it to you. Just because it was regarding electives and going about kind of choosing and making out that first year path. So if students are feeling a little bit kind of overwhelmed by all of this selection, right? Are they able to test the waters? Are they able to kind of see what's available? And I feel like I've already answered this question as well, but can they do, 2 degrees at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was talking earlier about general university requirements. It would be a good idea to start to work on those right away. So in one of the requirements is that you take 3 credits leading to degrees in 3 separate disciplines. Why not start that right away by, for example, in first year taking a philosophy course and taking a psychology course and taking a sociology course and taking a calculus course. So, you should feel free, especially in that first year, to just explore things, especially, when I was in high school anyway, there were a lot of things that we didn't have in high school that we had at university. So I didn't have an opportunity to take philosophy, for example, or anthropology. So it's a great opportunity to explore those things in first year because you don't know yet if you would like them or not.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much. Michael, Brooke, Kelly, Janine, Hugh, thank you all for being here, actually. It does look like we have reached the end of our presentation. You folks have been wonderful. Thank you for being here. To the folks listening, thank you for joining us. Thank you for asking your questions. I was going to go to the chat, but again, all of our folks working behind the scene have been absolutely amazing. I also do want to take this time to let you know that this session will be recorded and posted onto our fall preview page in the next week. So if you want to rewatch this session, maybe one of our panelists here said something that caught your attention, but you weren't necessarily sure what it was, you'll be able to go and take a look at that. I also want to invite every single one of you to check out both our in-person tours that are happening Monday to Saturday, if you go to trentu.ca/tours, and also our virtual tours that we will be offering today as well. I am only one individual. I only have one set of lived experiences. However, the amount of students that just finally understand or when everything clicks is usually when they come and see the Trent campus, whether it's at Durham or whether it's in Peterborough. There's something about this environment that wants and encourages you to kind of seek more and be more. So again, always, always, always feel free to join us. We'd love to see you. We'd love to show you around what could possibly be your next home. I also want to invite all of you folks to our fall open house that'll be on November 20th. And from there, again, you'll have sessions like these, a lot more specific, a lot more folks will be around. So that means that you get to ask a lot more questions. So with that being said, we all look forward to connecting with you, whether it is in the virtual space or in person, to answer any questions you may have. Enjoy the rest of this fall preview. To the panelists, thank you. To the folks at home, take care of yourselves. And remember, you're exactly where you need to be.